Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up and finally explore everything that you thought you could never do before. And even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. I work blind, got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be. And when my mind turns sour with the painful scenes, I need to scream out loud, I can't stop me. I wanna be the greatest like Rocky. You know I leave them all hating like a hobby. I'm out here making moves like a lobby. And if you ain't with me, it's your loss, see. I got my mind on the facts, I'm a python, grab what I like real fast. Stroke until I have everything I attack, everything that I lack, everything that I want, and I see, matter of fact. Cause I'm my own worst enemy. Only if I let it be. I can control anything if I can just think carefully. I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it. think carefully, I control my destiny. Deep up in my mind I manifest it. Every morning I wake up obsessed, and everything I do the best. And deep within my mind, you know I'll always manifest it.
Good morning and welcome to my Mind of Your Matter. My name is Rick and rise and shine. We're going to be reviewing some footage and some news from yesterday and from last night. So hang tight. It's going to be a weird one today. Gavin Newsom, he's just the biggest weirdo that I've ever come across watching on YouTube here, and I don't know, man. This guy, he's just pushing the narrative so hard because he wants the attention. He wants to be arrested. He wants to be the one that goes down with the ship. And trust me, that ship is going down real fast. So with that said, let's throw it to our most favorite governor of the United States, which is not so united this morning, Gavin Newsom.
Governor Gavin Newsom.
What's happening right now is very different than anything we've seen before. On Saturday morning, when federal agents jumped out of an unmarked van near a Home Depot parking lot, they began grabbing people, a deliberate targeting of a heavily Latino suburb. A similar scene played out when a clothing company was raided downtown. In other actions, a U.S. citizen, 9 months pregnant, was arrested. A 4-year-old girl taken. Families separated, friends quite literally disappearing. In response, everyday Angelenos came out to exercise their constitutional right to free speech and assembly, to protest their government's actions. In turn, the state of California and the city and county of Los Angeles sent our police officers to help keep the peace. And with some exceptions, they were successful. Like many states, California is no stranger to this sort of unrest. We manage it regularly and with our own law enforcement. But this, again, was different. What then ensued was the use of tear gas, flashbang grenades, rubber bullets, federal agents detaining people and undermining their due process rights. Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered 2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral began. He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose. As the news spread throughout LA, anxiety
sounds like
for
an
family
idiot.
and friends ramped up. Protests started again. By night, several dozen lawbreakers became violent.
It's easy
and
to blame
destructive.
Trump.
They vandalized property. They tried to assault police officers. Many of you have seen the video clips of cars burning on cable news. If you incite violence, I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated, full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
That's
Again,
bullshit.
thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. He federalized another 2,000 Guard members. He deployed more than 700 active U.S. Marines. These are the men and women trained for foreign combat, not domestic law enforcement. We honor their service. We honor their bravery. But we do not want our streets militarized by our own armed forces, not in LA, not in California, not anywhere. We're seeing unmarked cars in school parking lots, kids afraid of attending their own graduation. Trump is pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength. Donald Trump's government isn't protecting our communities. They're traumatizing our communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting. We'll keep fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless deployment of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the American military to engage in law enforcement activities across Los Angeles. If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What
Blame
more
Trump.
evidence do we need
Blame
than January
Trump.
6th?
Everything's Trump's
Ask
fault.
everyone.
Everything.
Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions.
Does he believe what
This
the
is a
fuck he
president
says?
who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud.
This
He's
guy's a
declared
clown.
a war on
This guy's a
culture,
clown.
on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases, quite literally, are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat
What
of
else?
funding them. At threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the
Damn, he had the
foundations
whole
of an
grocery
orderly
list. He
civil
brought the
society.
whole grocery list with
He's
him.
calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and
This guy's a
forcing them
clown.
to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have
Lord.
feared has arrived.
This guy.
He's taking a wrecking ball to our founding fathers' historic project.
This guy's
Three
so
co-equal branches of independent government. There are no longer any checks and balances. Congress is nowhere to be found. Speaker Johnson has completely abdicated that responsibility. The rule of law has increasingly been given way to the rule of Don. The founding fathers, they didn't live and die to see this kind of moment. It's time
this
for all
guy's
of us to
just
stand
stupid.
up. Justice Brandeis,
Oh Lord, he's
he said it
wasting
best,
up
in a
oxygen.
democracy, the most important office, with all due respect, Mr. President, is not the presidency, and it's certainly not governor. The most important
This guy's a
office is
liar.
office
Okay,
of
don't
citizen.
believe anything this guy says.
At this moment, we all need to stand up and be held to account, a higher level of accountability. If you exercise your First Amendment rights, please do it peacefully. I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety.
Yeah, that
stress,
looks peaceful,
and
right?
fear.
Walking in the middle of the
But I want you
street,
to know
not
that
letting
you
cars
are
pass
the
through.
antidote to that fear.
Like,
and
this
that
is a lot of
anxiety.
peace right here.
What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
Gavin Newsom is a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. He's a fucking idiot. Let me come back to me because then we'll continue with the craziness because I'm not going to continue watching the CNN shit because I don't like CNN. The gaslighting is still on full effect. The guy blames Trump for everything. I never ever seen a party ever since I've been alive go so hard on an individual and then come with a whole laundry list he just put a whole laundry list together of the Democrats and what they don't like about him, and Gavin Newsom just went up there and just said everything all at once. And I guess it is a filibuster I guess press conference or something that he did, or this guy is just a fucking mess. Another mess that we have going on here. We're gonna go right to it because I think she's a big fucking mess. Is Maxine Waters? Let's go to Maxine Waters, and then we'll continue. I have a whole bunch of videos to go through, so I'm going to try to go as fast as possible because I am going to go live later on this afternoon, probably evening time. I heard they're planning a big protest, a nationwide protest for June 14th, which is Saturday. I highly suggest, for the people who watch me and the very little that watch me, stay away from these protests. I feel like something's crazy is going to happen. I've been saying this for weeks. I've probably been saying it for over a month now. Stay away from these crowds because there's nothing but horrible, terrible things could happen to you just hanging around with these people. Let's go ahead and go to the Maxine Waters craziness. She's just a crazy nut. She's one of the favorite crazy nuts.
Blaming President Trump for the anti-ICE chaos in America's cities. Party leaders are trying to deny anything bad is even happening. Take a listen to Maxine Waters here.
Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence.
And Hillary Clinton decided to add her 2 cents, writing California Governor Newsom didn't request the National Guard be deployed to his state following peaceful demonstrations. Trump sent them anyway. It's the first time in 60 years a president has made that choice. Trump's goal isn't to keep Californians safe. His goal is to cause chaos because chaos is good for Trump. Hillary has since turned off the comments on that post, if that's an indication of how it was received.
Yeah, they weren't very receptive to that point, the people on the Twitters. Fox News contributor and senior writer for the Washington Examiner, Joe Concha, joins us now. Joe, are they out and out lying or something else at play? Is there a certain amount of violence, a certain level of violence that is acceptable, sort of like you're grading on the curve when it comes to their word, peaceful?
The answer is both, Todd. Carly, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's yes, lying. It's the cheap fake videos of Joe Biden in 2024 that weren't cheap fakes at all over again, as we later found out after that debate and so on. So Democrats want us to believe that watching law enforcement being pelted by concrete, rocks, projectiles, fireworks, they want to say, all right, that's an acceptable level of violence, to your point, Todd. All of those businesses being ransacked and looted, ICE officers and their families being doxxed, that's apparently okay. That's the new normal. So it appears that everybody from Maxine Waters to Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, Hillary Clinton, almost every Democrat not named John Fetterman, they want looting and rioting and lighting scores of cars on fire to be that acceptable new normal. And we're even hearing this analogy, you'll love this, Todd, particularly from Democratic lawmakers on CNN and MSNBC, that this really is no different than a team winning a championship and celebrating in the streets. I mean, one ABC reporter said, quote, it's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn. So the media obviously is enabling this here.
Wow, they're enabling it.
I'll leave this here, is that social media under Elon Musk, X particularly, is the great equalizer. Corporate media, legacy media can claim one thing and say, this really isn't bad, it's peaceful. Don't believe your lying eyes. But then X, which infinitely more people go to for their news now, They have the videos. They have the proof. They have the mockery of these media people, of these Democrats. And that's why this isn't going to work the way it did in 2020, because X particularly is the great equalizer.
Yeah, I don't think that football fans are breaking up cinder blocks and throwing them at federal agents and spray painting bleep ice on the side of buildings. So we heard from Maxine Waters. We heard from Hillary Clinton. Here are other Democrats and media pundits reacting to this as well. Watch.
All right.
Things are peaceful here in Los Angeles. I hope and pray that they stay that way.
Saturday night in Paramount, they had this situation under control. Overnight, LAPD got that under control.
He has no idea what to do with the sustained and growing and intractable and indomitable protest and opposition of the American people against him. Game over, big guy, you lose.
And to add to that, Joe, here's a Washington Post headline quoting someone. He's waging a war on us. The headline continues to read, as Trump escalates, Angelenos defend their city. So do you think, Joe, that this would have an impact? This moment right now will have an impact in the midterm elections? I mean, maybe the only thing helping Democrats right now is that there was a lot of time between then and now.
Yeah, I think the only party it helps and president it helps is President Trump, because all I've seen is his poll numbers continue to steadily climb up, where you have many polls showing him above 50% in approval right now. It's not going in the opposite direction. But I'll share with you one very telling poll here. It comes from Insider Advantage. They were the most accurate poll of the 2024 election, or at least in the top three. They're ranked A by 538. And it says, do you approve Trump's National Guard deployment? There's a poll that just was out late yesterday. 60% approve, 40% disapprove. That's a 20-point difference. So, yeah, people support this because, again, what is the underlining theme here? ICE is trying to arrest murderers, rapists, and child molesters. And if you're against that as a party and as a media, you're definitely on the wrong side of an issue. And this will be a campaign ad, to your point, Carly, in 2026.
Before we let you go, I need a quick answer on this. Breaking news this morning, Elon Musk's apology. The founder of Doge sent out this early morning post saying, quote, I regret some of my posts about President Donald Trump last week. They went
I don't
too
trust
far.
Elon.
Where does this all lead, Joe? And specifically, does it lead to Elon Musk at the big, beautiful bill signing ceremony in the Oval?
Imagine.
Let's see how President Trump responds, right? Because Elon Musk has been sort of kind of apologizing for days. This obviously is more full-throated. The bottom line is Elon Musk started that war 2 weeks ago like a petulant teenager, at a very bad time of night, basically going after the sitting president of the United States, and did it repeatedly until Trump days later finally responded. So I think Elon Musk has learned his lesson. I think he understands that if he's going to have a problem with President Trump, I am certain he has a direct line to him. Don't do it publicly. Speak to him. Voice your concerns over spending, but to do it the way he did was a whole bowl of wrong. He knows it, and this tweet now proves it. So I think they move on, but I don't think they're going to be back to the level of friendship that they were perhaps before that, because it's kind of hard to go back from you were in the Epstein files. Oh, by the way, maybe a word.
Yeah,
Right.
some
Sorry,
of his
that's
posts
something
went
you
too
can take a little
far.
personally.
Yeah, understatement of the century. I mean, this apology certainly doesn't hurt their relationship. I think President Trump has taken the high road on this one so far, and I'm sure he will continue to. Joe, thank you for joining us.
Joe.
I'm Steve Ducey.
All right, so let's go to the next one.
The heart of Los Angeles is tonight under a curfew. Those who are there are barred from being on the streets, but already a number of people have been arrested for defying that order. And the ill feeling is spreading. Protests now taking place all over America.
Los Angeles locking down as other parts of America fire up.
This is what you get paid to do?
New York streets filled with fury at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Oh, man. This is crazy. This is New York.
In Chicago, where hundreds marched in solidarity.
It's
this
crazy.
car driving through the crowds.
I said that this was going to happen. And look,
from Atlanta
just as I visioned it.
to Boston, anger over deportations is ripping across the United States.
It's unjust. It's very disgusting and rancid.
In LA, this is day 5. Emotions still running high.
It's up what's going on right now. People are being ripped away from their families. It's disgusting.
Well, send them away with their families. That's very easy. You grab the whole family and you put them all together.
Not to be deterred, protesters took over the freeway, but didn't last long. Many were round up and carted off. For others, the game of cat and mouse continued.
We do not follow orders under Donald Trump.
But they had to follow this order.
You hear this?
I have declared
you don't follow
a
orders
local
under
emergency
Donald Trump. Are you
and
crazy?
issued a curfew for downtown Los Angeles to stop the vandalism, to stop
part of the United
looting.
States.
The gates to the City of Angels shut.
Cities.
The curfew is about to be enforced. So we invite you to go home. This is a peaceful protest.
Police circling those
This guy
still
had
on the
more common
streets,
sense.
some on
He's the
horseback,
first person
others armed with
priest that
batons,
comes out
clearing out
and
almost
speaks
2 square
and says,
kilometers.
"Go home."
It has just gone 8 p.m. here in downtown
Go home.
Los
You'd be
Angeles.
more
That
at peace at
curfew
home.
now officially in
No,
place.
they
You can
want
see
to
some of the
create mayhem.
demonstrators there are leaving, but there are plenty that remain. And the plan from LAPD is to arrest anybody who stays inside that exclusion zone.
And that's exactly what happened.
This anarchy will not stand. We will not allow federal agents to be attacked, and we will not allow an American city to be invaded and conquered by a foreign enemy.
As Marines arrived in Los Angeles, the man who ordered them in oversaw a military demonstration in North Carolina.
Very simply, we will liberate Los Angeles and make it free, clean, and safe again. It's happening very quickly.
The Commander-in-Chief's decision to send in the troops is going to cost more than $200 million. California's governor wants the Marines and the National Guard out, but his emergency request to limit military deployment has been denied by the courts.
There's something to
for
meet
now.
the eye.
Trump is pulling a
There's some
military
corruption in
dragnet
California,
all
and they didn't
across
want
Los Angeles,
the
well
military
beyond
to
his
discover
stated
it.
intent to
That's
just go
why.
after violent and serious criminals.
That's why they don't want the
His
government there,
agents
because
are
they
arresting
want to keep
dishwashers,
their secrets.
gardeners, day
And
laborers,
that's very
and
dangerous.
seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength.
Further splitting apart these divided
It's not
states
even
of
there. And
America.
look how the people
in
are
Los
acting.
Angeles, Reed Butler.
They don't have a
9
leader.
News.
They don't have a leader. This is what happens when you have a weak leader. This is exactly what happens. Let me bring it to me here. When you have a weak leader, what's happening around these weak leader cities, democratic cities, blue cities, is disruption, chaos, mayhem. They are gathering unlawfully, and not only that, but they're planning, and this is all pre-planned. And now they're planning a really big event for this Saturday, and a lot of people are going to be at danger. They're going to be in danger this Saturday. So please stay away from these events. It's only going to get crazier. It's gotten to the point that I need to wake and bake. Here it goes. I got my medicine already here. Here, we could do a close-up on the medicine. It's like, here you go. Wake and bake. My friend Maggie, she used to love when I do this. So this is like a little thing for Maggie. Hey, Maggie, if you're watching, there you go. So let's go to the next story and let it continue. The mayhem is just going to continue. These people don't believe in peace. The only thing they believe in is everyone in chaos. That's what they want. That's what they're virtual signaling. This is crazy. This was from yesterday, so we're just going to take a quick look at it. It's an older video, but from yesterday before the curfew, so you can see what was happening. So this is just a review.
To our Jeff DeWin, who is in downtown Los Angeles. Jeff, I'm sure you heard us talking, and you are aware that a curfew is going to take effect in less than 2 hours from now, 8 p.m. tonight until 6 a.m.
Yeah, it's very understandable because last night here in Little Tokyo, the streets echoed with fireworks, and some of the community's cultural landmarks were targeted and vandalized.
To tag this building is like spitting in the face of everything.
Wow.
Susan Jacaro says she has so many reasons to be angry.
I understand people are angry.
Mm-hmm.
I totally get it, but people need to channel that anger.
She and this group of people took part in the demonstrations against the ICE operations in LA, but they condemned the violence and vandalism against
Damn, that
landmarks
sucks. They gotta
like the
strip all
Japanese
this
American
paint.
National Museum in Little Tokyo. Gina Hong Thompson lives at the Tokyo Towers. She had to rely on her dog for comfort as fireworks echoed around the affordable housing complex for older adults.
Feel like it's some war. I've never been war.
The images of disturbances scared her children who
And
live
she's an
locally
immigrant.
and out of state.
What were your children saying to you?
Mom, don't go outside.
That's because coverage showed this burning car outside the church attended by a
Why did
number
they blur
of
a
people
burning
who live
car?
at the Tokyo Towers.
Are you
At the
kidding
Little
me?
Tokyo
CBS?
Service Center, staffers pleaded with people Monday night to
You're gonna
not
blur-
vandalize the complex that
Why are you
also
blurring
provides
the
affordable housing.
A lot of the work that we're doing is just letting people know that Little Tokyo is a home to people. And that's like kind of what's most important to for people to know.
Back at the museum, fencing went up Tuesday.
What's the significance of this
This is
courtyard?
ridiculous.
This courtyard is holy ground for the Japanese American community.
The chair of the Board of Trustees says the museum has championed civil rights. One of its missions, educating people about how this part of LA was tied to the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II.
Where thousands of Japanese Americans were taken, forced on the buses.
LTSC had planned on unveiling a new affordable housing apartment complex tomorrow, but that grand opening has been postponed because of all of the recent disturbances. We're reporting live in Little Tokyo. Jeff Nguyen, KCAL News.
All right, Jeff. Well, glad to see people pitching in and trying to clean up some of that graffiti. And where are you again exactly? Because you look kind of lonely out there now.
Yeah, so we are right on the outskirt of Little Tokyo. So basically near Los Angeles and first, for those of us who grew up in Southern California.
Okay, I don't need to know your geography or where you're at, but let's go to the next story. And I'm just going to go down the line. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stories to go. So it's going to be a pretty long morning, but not too long because I don't want to be here. I got things to do. So let's just try to go as fast as possible.
All right, so Vivek, what are you seeing in Los Angeles that makes you think the Democrats care about law and order?
Well, they don't, Jesse. That's clear. But I'll tell you this. I know Gavin Newsom. I actually happen to like him as a person. The reality is he's not going to like what I have to say on this, which is that his behavior is starting to resemble that of another Democratic governor from U.S. history by the name of George Wallace, who was the governor of Alabama, who famously stood in the way of federal desegregation. And in 1963, President John F. Kennedy had to deploy the National Guard of Alabama, just like President Trump is doing today. And I know that's counterintuitive to some people, but the parallels are actually pretty striking if you think about it. Democrat governors, when you look at George Wallace, he resisted desegregation. Gavin Newsom is resisting deportations. George Wallace wanted segregated cities. Gavin Newsom wants sanctuary cities. George Wallace stood in the school door blocking the way. Gavin Newsom is blocking the ICE vans. It's the same Democrat governor playbook. You dodge the feds, you rally the radicals, and most importantly of all, you do it in front of the cameras, because what they were both doing is really carving their Democratic primary path for their presidential ambitions. And Jesse, you can mark my words on this one. Gavin Newsom's presidential ambitions are going to end in the same place that George Wallace's did, in the dustbins of history where it belongs. That's just the truth.
Well, he's calculating that this confrontation with Trump right now could maybe win him the Democrat nomination. It would absolutely cost him in the general.
I don't know why he's
but at
thinking
least
of
it
that.
would get him the nomination. That's his calculation.
It's not going to work.
Well, that might have been George Wallace's calculation too. And we all saw how that story ended. And it's a bit of a shame because I don't know how much George Wallace believed that any much as Gavin Newsom does today. A few months ago, he was trying to portray himself as a moderate, now sees an opportunity to use this confrontation to get a bunch of national attention. And I think that's actually what's tearing our country apart. It's also what shows, Jesse, the importance of states leading the way, or what state leadership is actually about, what it ought to be about. Look at the direction of California. The communist republic of the West Coast now has lost its mind. This is a big part of why I'm doing what I'm doing in the state of Ohio, which I'm proud of, to show what a different model actually looks like. And I think it's a good reminder that state and local leadership actually does make a difference to the country. Sadly, it's in an unfortunate way that Gavin Newsom has laid that example for the rest of us. but I think it allows us to say, you know what, when states lead the way, the country's actually stronger when we also follow the rule of law in the United States of America. And as the kid of legal immigrants to this country, I think most Americans, including those legal immigrants, are actually united in their opposition to illegal immigration. And most Americans are smart enough to tell the difference.
Yep.
How many illegal immigrants do you think are in LA County? A million?
Millions.
Look, the fact of the matter is, under the Biden administration, because we had those porous borders, we lost track in this country. I think there are quite possibly, you're looking at 8-figure numbers nationally, tens of millions possibly illegal immigrants across the country.
8 figures.
But the reality is this country was founded on the rule of law. That is part of who we are as Americans. That is what unites us. That's actually what draws many of the people who come to this country legally in the right way to contribute to this country, is their love of that rule of law. And I think that's something that I don't care whether you're historically a centrist Democrat or Republican, black or white, most people in this country, 80% of us agree on this. And I think Gavin Newsom is going to go down on the wrong side of this issue, just as George Wallace did 60 years ago. And history is going to look back and say, you know what? America's proud when we stood for the rule of law. Do it with dignity, do it with respect, but do it firmly, because that's what this country was founded on. If we embrace that, we're going to be successful.
All right. Well said, Vivek. Good to speak with you. Good luck in Ohio. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Good luck in Ohio, man. He needs to win Ohio. He really does needs to win Ohio. Did we see Maxine Waters or her craziness? I'll open it up on another page here, but let's go to the next video. Which one would I want to see? Let's see some rioters from Austin, Texas. This was in Texas last night. So it was a crazy night last night. So, and all around the country, they are planning for a big event for this Saturday, the 14th. It's going to be crazy. I will be covering it. I might cover it throughout the day. And I'll probably just leave it on so we can see what's happening. It's just crazy. It's crazy times.
Let's go back to our breaking news right now, where it appears we have a situation between demonstrators and law enforcement just outside of the Capitol.
Okay, our Grace reader is there. Grace, what are you seeing now?
Yeah, I'm standing behind the camera so that we've got eyes in all directions here. But we heard law enforcement tell the protesters that are still in the street here on Congress Avenue outside of the Capitol that they needed to get off the street. They said a couple minutes ago that these folks had 1 minute before they started using force to get these folks off of the streets. Some folks have moved to the sidewalk, but as you can see here, not all of them. And so we are just waiting to see how this may escalate. There's a pot of police officers over here and the horses, if you wouldn't mind going over here, Aiden. So these folks have been, it appears, trying to figure out how to get these folks to get off the street. The horses just rolled up here. There is a line of state troopers on bikes. There are folks on motorcycles. And again, we are waiting to see what might happen here after law enforcement have asked these protesters to get off the street. They have shut it down at this point. We're going to continue to monitor it for you, but it appears that this is going to escalate very shortly, and we are waiting to see how.
The problem is that the Democrats are instigating this stuff.
If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Crazy.
But we're not going to see this whole thing because he has a whole. I highly suggest you go over and subscribe to this man's channel, TD Media Group. But let's go to the next video here. Let's go here. See what's going on here. This is in New York. This is New York last night. People were throwing trash in the road. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, they're gonna throw someone. I was gonna say I wouldn't be surprised to hit somebody with the trash. Oh man, yo, because they're acting trashy. That's why. Trashy. If you were, Chicago, New York, like, yo, they're gonna come after the people. They're gonna start arresting people. You act crazy. This is what happens when you have a weak president for 4 years. And all these people that we don't know are in this country causing a ruckus right now. Now we're dealing with the aftermath of what Biden created. And this is what it is. What you're seeing right here. This is chaos, but they're going to say it's peaceful. It was peaceful. There was no damage occurred. The streets were perfect. No litter, no trash. Everything was awesome. This is, that's why I don't like the Democrats. And I feel like it's going to be a very, very long time, very, very, very long time if ever a Democrat gets back into office. They'd be better abolishing that party and just forming a new party and change the narrative, because right now this is the end and the death of the Democrats. As you're witnessing the funeral of the Democrats, because this is what they want. They're gonna go to the grave with this. They do not care. They're putting all their chips on to this riot, and they're gonna push their agenda and push their talking points. Like the governor Newsom was talking about Trump and putting all this bullshit on Trump, and all the talking points that the Democrats were using. He's turning around and using it against Trump now. Literally, we just saw the video. So Democrats like to they're not really good people, and this is a clear example why we need all illegals to be removed immediately. All illegals, if they do not self-report by a certain amount of time, you will be deported. You will, ICE will come for you. All these people, if I know 80% of these people are illegal. 80% are illegal. This is nuts. This is nuts. This is New York. Yo, I feel that's why I live next to New York. I actually live in Connecticut, and this not has happened here yet. But I won't be surprised if they do something this Saturday, because monkey see, monkey do, and whatever I do, you're gonna copy what I do and mimic what I do, and that's all these people are doing. They're mimicking. But we gotta get these illegals out. We really gotta get this country back in order. It's been out of order for way too long. 4 years is a very long time to have open borders and let anybody come in. So all these people really need to get locked up. I don't know. We don't have enough jails. I said on my show previously, when I was sending this energy to Trump, that we need to open up our prisons. We need more, like 13 prisons. and like 4 of them, of those 13, like a supermax. That one, Alcatraz needs to be reestablished, meaning they need to renovate it and bring it right back to service and house the criminals of criminals. Brandon Johnson, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Karen Bass. I mean, there's so much you could just. there's enough that they could fit Alcatraz perfectly, and you have to build prisons across the country to house like all these individuals. They want to break the law. Well, okay. Well, either you're gonna do time or you're gonna fight for our country. You decide. You want to sit in jail, or would you like to join the armed forces and fight for our country? This does not look very safe. This looks very dangerous. This is in New York. This is what happened last night. Do you think this is friendly? Do you think this was peaceful? This is not good, and it's not going to get better. And Trump needs to activate. He needs to activate the National Guard throughout the whole country. And not only that, but even the military, because it's going to take an army to fight over 20 million immigrants that are here inside our country illegally. So this is what we call a full sweep. We need a full sweep. We need to activate the military, and we're going to need to go to door and check for any illegals being housed throughout this country. This is the only way that we're going to be able to fix this problem. You got to face the problem. And if you don't face the problem will continue, and then this is what you have: chaos. So Trump is going right to the opponent, and he's facing them face to face, and he ain't backing down. And all these people are going to get in trouble, and there will be going to be a lot of punishment. So you act crazy, well, you're going to get a crazy reward. And this is nothing. This, like, man, what they did to the J6 individuals, the January 6th, what happened at the Capitol. Like, what's going on now is 100 times worse. Okay, and they're destroying things throughout the country. At least the J6 was contained to one area alone. This here look at the mayhem. Look at the garbage in the street. Look at, like, why the civil unrest for? Because the immigrants are here illegally? I believe this is the illegals that are doing this. The illegals are participating in this and causing a ruckus. If I was Trump, I would activate the Army, I would activate the Marines, Air Force, Navy, get them all, even the fucking Coast Guard, and do a sweep of all cities and remove all immigrants immediately from the country. That's how I would like governed or oversee the government. You got to get rid of these people. They're just not good. Let me see what this one's about over here.
President Trump for the
I think we did see this one. Okay, so let me go let me find another one. I got to start clearing this windows here. We saw that one already. We've seen this one here. Okay, we've seen this one here already. I gotta clear out the windows because all the ones we've seen, I gotta just clear out the windows. We're gonna show one from my friend a little later, Tyson De La Cruz. Excuse me. You know what? Since I'm talking about him, let's play his video. He's a subscriber / good friend of mine, Tyson De La Cruz, and subscribe to his channel. He does really good reporting. Good. I like the way he projects and the way he flows, and it's a very hardworking and very time consuming with all the videos that he puts out. I see really good things for him, man. I really do. But let's come over here and watch what he has on his channel from last night.
Nail Lounge off Chastain Meadows Parkway. Agents are making about 100 arrests every day in the Atlanta region alone.
America, we just uncovered a massive trafficking operation hiding in plain sight at nail salons across the country. ICE agents raided nail salons in Georgia, arresting dozens of workers using fraudulent documents while forcing businesses to shut down completely. But here's what's really shocking. These aren't just immigration violations. Federal investigators have discovered that many of these workers are victims of human trafficking, forced to work in these salons to pay off smuggling debts to the cartel. One salon in Marietta had to close permanently after losing their entire workforce of 12 illegal employees, put up fake water issue signs to hide the fact that their entire staff was arrested.
That's crazy.
Following new developments in an immigration crackdown at a Marietta nail salon. Immigration agents arrested 12 employees on Wednesday, forcing the business to shut down. Channel 2's Brian Mims, live now in Marietta. And Brian, a Homeland Security investigations official told you his agents are busier now than they've ever been.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story exposes how cartels are using legitimate businesses as fronts for human trafficking, while liberal customers just want their cheap manicures and don't care about the exploitation happening right in front of them. Let me break down what happened at Lux Lounge in Marietta, Georgia. ICE agents showed up with federal warrants and arrested 12 employees, basically their entire staff except for one person. The business had to shut down immediately because they literally had no employees left to operate.
This video provided by Homeland Security Investigations shows agents leading 12 employees out of Lux Nail Lounge on Wednesday. Except for one employee, that was the whole staff on duty.
And this business rode on that illegal labor force. As you can see, they are closed today because they have no employees remaining to do that work.
Stephen Schrank, the regional special agent in charge, made it crystal clear. This business rode on illegal labor force. As you can see, they're closed today because they have no employees remaining to work. But here's what's really telling. The salon had to cover up what happened by posting a sign claiming that they were closed due to water issues. They don't want customers to know that their entire business model was built on illegal labor.
A nail salon raid and a SWAT standoff. Tonight, we're hearing from the Department of Homeland Security about two different local operations that landed more than a dozen undocumented immigrants in ICE custody.
The fact that this business had to shut down completely shows how dependent they were on exploiting illegal workers. They can't operate without breaking federal law. They're not running a legitimate business. They're running a criminal enterprise. What makes these nail salons so significant is that many of these workers aren't just illegal immigrants. They're victims of human trafficking. According to HSI, these workers are often forced to work in these salons to pay off debts to the smuggling organization that brought them into America. HSI Special Agent in charge Stephen Schrank explained that his agency's priority is to apprehend those who threaten public safety. But when they discover people who overstayed their visas or illegally crossed the border, they take action regardless of the circumstance.
Over the past few years, we have had significant restrictions on enforcing immigration activity. All of our enforcement efforts had to be focused on certain priority areas, and we have broadly opened up the aperture.
President Trump has clamped down on undocumented immigrants, signing an executive order to expedite their removal.
The 12 workers arrested at Lux Nail Lounge had either crossed the border illegally or overstayed their work visas, making them ineligible to work in the United States. They're now in immigration proceedings in custody.
When our folks arrived to conduct that search, they encountered 12 illegal aliens that were all working inside of the lounge.
This forced closure even has their customers caught off guard.
I was shocked, honestly. I don't know that I can say that I felt that there was anything going on that was negative there.
One customer said
my
she was
nails
shocked,
done now.
didn't feel anything was going on negative there. This perfectly illustrates how human trafficking hides in plain sight. Customers get their cheap services while remaining willfully ignorant about the exploitation. What's happening in Georgia isn't isolated. It's part of a massive nationwide crackdown on businesses exploiting illegal labor. Stephen Schrank revealed that his agents are making about 100 arrests every day in the Atlanta region alone. Schrank explains over the past few years, we have had a significant restriction on enforcing immigration activity. All of our enforcement efforts had to be focused on certain priority areas, and we have broadly opened up the aperture.
Frank says his agency's priority is to apprehend those who threaten public safety. But he says when investigators learn of those who overstay their visas or who illegally cross the border, they will take action.
It is our job, outside of politics, outside of the administration, to enforce the laws of the United States. And we were going to do that.
It's unclear whether the owners of Lux Nail Lounge will face penalties, but he says any employer knowingly hiring undocumented immigrants could be charged.
Hey, the
Trump
customers are going to be
administration has
mad.
removed
You're
the
like,
restrictions that prevented ICE from conducting comprehensive immigration enforcement. Under the Biden administration, agents could only focus on certain prioritized areas. Now they're enforcing all immigration laws. Schrank made it clear that employers will be held accountable. Any employer knowingly hiring undocumented immigrants could be charged. We are enforcing existing laws.
Yes, Homeland Security is
Now
partnering with
girls gonna
local
have
police
their
here to
nails
try and crack
right.
down on gang activity,
Like
drugs,
Shrek.
and undocumented immigrants that have a criminal
criminal history, but the special agent in charge tells me that this also includes undocumented immigrants that may have crossed a U.S. border illegally to come into the U.S.
Let's talk about the business model that makes these operations possible. Nail salons can charge premium prices while paying below market wages to workers who can't complain because their illegal status and trafficking debts. Customers getting their nails done for cheap prices are essentially benefiting from human trafficking. They're paying below market rates because workers are being exploited, but they chose to look the other way as long as they get their services. HSI officials revealed that civil fines for employers range anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 per violation. When you're employing 12 illegal workers, you're looking at potentially over $1 million in fines.
Now, those 12 immigrants that these agents had encountered had either crossed the border illegally to come into the U.S., or they had come here legally, had work visas, but overstayed their work visas, so they were not eligible to work here in the U.S. They are now placed in immigration proceedings and are in custody tonight.
The owner of Lux Nail Lounge wasn't at the salon during the operation, but HSI says there could be significant consequences for the business owners who employ undocumented workers. What's particularly disturbing is how these operations are often discovered through tips from the public. Someone had to call in a tip about Lux Nail Lounge, suggesting that people in the community knew that something was wrong, but it took time for somebody to report it. The response from customers and liberal communities perfectly illustrates their hypocrisy on workers' rights. They claim to care about fair wages and humane working conditions, but when ICE shows up to arrest workers being exploited in trafficking situations, they defend the business. Listen to what one customer had to say about this.
I just hope that whatever's going on, that they can get back to progressing and do it the legal way.
But the legal way means paying fair wages for legal workers, which would make their services more expensive. The reality is that many liberal customers don't want businesses to do it the legal way because that would mean paying higher prices for their services. They want cheap manicures, and they don't care if it's built off of human trafficking. This is the same pattern that we see across liberal cities, virtual signaling about social justice while benefiting from systems that exploit vulnerable workers. They want their trendy services below market prices, and they don't ask questions about how that's even possible. America, these nail salon raids aren't just about immigration enforcement. They're about rescuing human trafficking victims and shutting down businesses that profit from exploiting them. When ICE arrest these workers at nail salons, they're not just enforcing immigration law, they're breaking up trafficking operations that force people to work to pay off their smuggling debts to the cartels. The fact that Lux Nail Lounge had to shut down completely shows how dependent these businesses are on exploiting illegal workers. When you can't operate without breaking federal law, you're not running a legitimate business. Stephen Schrank and his HSI team deserve credit for conducting these operations and holding employers accountable. Making 100 arrests per day in Atlanta region alone shows the massive scope of illegal employment. Liberal customers who are shocked by these raids need to understand that their cheap services are subsidized by human trafficking. When you pay below market prices, you're probably benefiting from exploitation. The Trump administration's removal of enforcement restrictions is finally allowing ICE to do their job and rescuing traffic victims while holding exploitive employers accountable. I'll keep you updated as more of these businesses get exposed for exploiting trafficking victims. And remember, when you see ICE raids at nail salons, they're not just enforcing immigration law, they're rescuing people from modern slavery. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.
I gotta bring him on the show with the little amount of people that I have, right? But I know people that are doing really good in life, and Tyson is one. He's a really cool dude, really good energy. Very, very positive. Like, I feel everything is just really good about Tyson, and that's why I try to bring in really good, influential individuals onto the show. And I only have like 443 subscribers. That's crazy. I've been gone. I always say I want little amount of people on my channel. I'm like, for a long time I've been saying that, and I've been keeping it low, and that's, it's okay, because I don't want to get too popular. I don't want to get like the chat room going too fast or anything like that, because then I will feel bad, because it's hard to catch up sometimes, because I deal with a lot of energy. So when I read stuff, that's energy being passed to me, and it's a little hard. Let me make myself big here. That energy, every time you read something, you're building it like a story in your mind. So like reading a book, you're creating that narrative in your head, and then you're fantasizing and making a scene of what you're reading. It's no different from comments, but the comments is, depending on the individual and how aggressive the comment is, and understanding the energy from the comments. Well, every time I read all that stuff, it's like it depletes me. I get tired, and it's because that energy just it sucks out of me from even reading people comments. But and I'm happy that it's slow, but we need to bring up the subscriber counts up. We need to at least reach 1,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, definitely we gotta come up, but it's okay. But Tyson, continue doing good work, man. You're doing really good. I have really good energy about him, and I just want him to be successful. I really do, and I'm happy that he let me be able to show his show and comment about anything that he publishes on here. But the nail salon stuff, that's very interesting, because all these girls, like we know what we're talking about. Shanae, like, I gotta get my nails done. I don't care about no eyes. I don't care about no raids. I got an appointment at 3:00. Bitch better be there. Bitch better be there. I gotta get these. I don't want no Shrek hands. I tell you right now. If I don't get these nails done after midnight, this thing turns into a monster. No, but but all jokes aside, it's true. A lot of these nail salons, like even here in Connecticut, like they're all speaking a different language and stuff, and they're like, like, I don't know if they're having a bad day or they're talking shit about like my feet or something. When you're doing your pedicure, or when you're doing your manicure, for those who do pedicure manicures, I haven't had one in forever. I go in there, I'm gonna go with a hidden camera and be like, are you illegal? Are you being trafficking? If you need help, blink your eyes 2 times. Oh man. But there's a lot of people that and especially the females, that that's like a weekly thing, like a bi-weekly thing, that they have to go and get their nails done. And a lot of the places are going to be out shit creek because they picked up a lot of illegals to work and do nails at a very cheap labor, and it's a mess. It's a mess. Oh, you just don't know how big this mess is. It's a huge, huge, huge problem. Trump is going to have to activate the National Guard, and the Marines and the Army and all forces, and put the body check on everyone. And I think this is the Civil War. This is it. This is coming to it. The Democrats are really pushing for it. I'm telling you right now, all Democrats are pushing for a civil war. They've been having this on their cards forever, and it's going to happen because they're pushing it. They're pushing it. They want it. Trump's going to be like, okay, well, let's see who wins. I got the military. Anything I have futuristic weapons that I could use on protesters, ultrasonic weapons that, like, if you don't move, you actually will shit and piss on yourself. That's how strong the vibrations of the frequency is. That it would literally, they'll point the device at you, and you will literally right there, as where you're standing, will start shitting and pissing on yourself. That's some strong weapons they have. the United States have really, really strong weapons. And if they release that on the public, that's going to be game over. It's like, a lot of these immigrants, we're going to have to push them out. We have to push them out. And, that's what happens when you have open borders for 4 years under this freaking Biden administration, man. They gaslit you to the freaking grave. and not only that, but all these democratic states like California was embedded with the Biden administration. So California is filled by millions and millions of illegals. There's a lot of illegals there. There are millions and millions. You're going to need an army to get these people out. And it's not going to be easy because they will fight to stay here. They will fight with gunfire if have to stay, to be able to stay here. Like, it's crazy how they protest with their nation's flags, but then they're enjoying another nation that they were just burning their flags in a protest, sitting comfortably in their houses, sleeping at the moment, and getting ready to have breakfast. And yeah, it's just very weird, right? It's why you're here in America, enjoying America's, everything that we have here, and yet you want to go and protest that you hate America. It doesn't make sense to me. Help me make it make sense, because I'm fucking confused. I'm lost. I'm confused. I'm lost. I'm like, ICE, please come to Connecticut. Morning prayer. Here it is. Morning prayer. ICE. Donald Trump, please send ICE. Tom Homan, please send ICE to Connecticut and Hartford, Connecticut, and New Haven, Bridgeport, all over Connecticut that are claiming sanctuary cities. Please send ICE here and remove the individuals from this beautiful state that's being run down by horrible Democrats. I really hope that the energy and the powers can come and help this situation out down over here in Connecticut, because it's not good, because we're getting the blowback from New York and Boston, because we're like the trapped monkey in the middle. And Rhode Island, that little ass big time liberal left island, Rhode Island, it's poisoning Connecticut. Connecticut is such a beautiful state. It has beautiful waterfalls. It has so much, like, in a little state that it's incredible. We have the oldest amusement park, the first amusement park ever in America here. We have ESPN. Like, ew, you have ESPN? It's like, yeah, it sucks, but they're here. They're here in Bristol, Connecticut, which for me is from where I live, Bristol, I could get there in less than 15 minutes. Less than 15, between probably, like, I would say, yeah, under 15, between 12 minutes, I could get to ESPN. But this place is very very democratic and very rundown, and it's very creepy, especially at night. You never catch me in Hartford at night. You'll never catch me anywhere near Hartford or New Haven at night. Like, it's not safe. It's just not safe. It's not good. And there's a lot of cities throughout the country that is like this. I'm looking at you, Philadelphia. I'm looking at, like, Jersey. I'm looking at, like, all the blue states, Chicago, Illinois, Minnesota, Like there's so many different states all around, democratic states, that are having this immigration problem because they remember all these immigrants were transported through all this whole country. They're here. Like they were sending them busloads to New York, busloads to Chicago, busloads to California. Like these are millions and millions of people. Like, are you kidding me? This is an invasion. This is a locust invasion of, like, and then the media is treating it like nothing. Like, oh yeah, the borders are open, but no, we have to protect our immigrants. We have to protect our illegals. Like, it does not make sense. Doesn't make sense. This is where the problem lies. Like, the problem is exposing itself, and it's the Democrats, and they're the bro block. They're the ones that don't want the peace. They don't want, like, people to have a future. They want chaos. They want war. They're warmongers. They're not known for peace anymore. They're known for taking the opportunity and turn it into chaos. It's it's wild, man. I mean, I'm happy to be alive to witness this, because when I die, I'm going to report all this to whoever's in charge on the other side. If I get to meet the high energy, whoever it is, if it's the baby Jesus, if it's, another God out there, because God, there's many gods. I believe there's so many gods. There's higher power energy. It's not based on one person, but many people. That's how I believe. I don't believe there's just one hierarchy order. No, because it takes two to make, things go right. It takes two to tango. You need the positive and the negative side of it. But I'm reporting everything that I witness. I'm gonna report everything. I mean, like, baby Jesus. That's. I said I was gonna do that to you because you're sleeping. So I'm trying to wake you up. Society is going crazy. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you want to have a smoke? Like, you want to smoke out with me? I hope I can smoke a joint in heaven, or wherever energy I go. I know it's static energy. When we die, I've experienced death before. Okay, many times. I talked about this and other shows. I've done over 650 shows already. And you got to go back into the hundreds when I talk about this, like towards the beginning. But I've been through a lot, and to be here at this moment, this time, to witness what I'm witnessing, it's so unique. It's so unique. And I'm happy to be alive right now. I am, because the more I see is the more I'm going to report. And that's why I feel like I'm just a reporter, that when I go to my next life, the next energy, because I know what happens, it turns static, like a high vibration static. Like, you turn back into energy. When you pass, is you turn back into a static. You turn into energy that's in the air. Like, your soul is energy. And it's scary. I've been thinking about it a lot. It is scary because the process is scary. What I don't like about it is the uncertainty. Not knowing is what makes me more uncomfortable. But it's a weird process. The dying phases is very like, when you're going to die. When that moment arrives, it's the end. Like, you will know. And your life flashes before your eyes. So let's take in some more some more of the news. Let's see where we're at. Let's go over here to the Gavin Newsom roasted for forgetting phone call with Trump. This comes from Rita. Give me a second. Let me set it up. I always got to set this up. I wish they would make it easier here. But life is, all these parts I would have been editing. So you're getting a raw deal. You're getting the raw behind the scenes thing that, you have like Tyson, like his video, you see how clean it is and everything, but it takes work to do all that. I'm doing the easy way out. I'm doing like, oh shit, man. So let's go ahead and bring it over here and let's watch.
Now, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, claimed today that Donald Trump has not called him, not even left a voicemail. He also said Americans should be alarmed that a president deploying Marines onto our streets doesn't even know who he's talking to. That's what Newsom claimed. That prompted Donald Trump to show the receipts.
Oh, Donald Trump came with receipts.
Was not picked up. The second call Gavin picked up. We spoke for 16 minutes. I told him to essentially, quote, and this is quoting the president, get his ass in gear and stop the riots, which were out of control more than anything else. This shows what a liar he is. Said I never called. So here is the evidence. And here is the call log that the president sent me from his phone.
Evidence.
This was June the 7th.
Oh, there's so much to unpack
there.
But
Man.
Let's start off with, how does the governor forget a 16-minute phone call with the president?
Oh, look, he's got selective memory. It's just ridiculous. And what disgusts me more about Gavin Newsom, he is such a liar. Today, I watched that speech that he tried to put out, but there were so many technical difficulties. He said that Trump was holding a military parade for his birthday on June the 14th. Absolutely, so deceptive. It's the US Army's 250th birthday on June the 15th. It's also Flag Day that has been celebrated since 1777. I can't believe that Newsom gets away with this. He's a deceptive liar trying to damage Trump, and this has to be called out consistently.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of people see this as a big win for Gavin Newsom, that all the lefties in California are going to band around backing him, and he'll again be the favourite to be the next Democrat presidential candidate. But I can't see how he's going to win holding these positions. He is just going radically left again after showing signs of moderating. Now, played earlier Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, claiming that there is no violence or lawlessness during these protests.
Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. Get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw. There was no violence.
Of course, the footage of what's really happening has been superimposed behind her there. But what do you make of how the Democrats have responded
I love Australians.
to these riots? She's a veteran congresswoman, and she's not alone in trying to deny the violence.
This is what Australians
and
think of
with
us.
these rioters.
Look, they're delusional. And I think going back to the Black Lives Matter movement and the George Floyd, I think they think it worked for them then when there was such an anti-Trump feelings. It's not working now. People are waking up to it. They don't want violence in their cities. And to be the normal American just looks at them, scratches their head, think, what are you going on about? Turn the television on, look at the vision. It's absolutely insane that they continue to say that these are peaceful protests. It's unbelievable, Rita.
Well, we know they're not peaceful because even the Democrat mayor of LA has now instituted a curfew. So they don't do that lightly, but she said that there's just so much violence and lawlessness, so many shops being looted, so much damage being done to property that she's had to take this action. Now, earlier today, President Donald Trump...
Rita, it's a shame it took her 5 days to instill that though.
Well, exactly, because she was amongst the head in the sand crew in claiming that, there was nothing to see here and Donald Trump was overreacting, calling the National Guard in. Now, President Trump announced earlier today that he will restore the names of Fort Robert E. Lee and 6 other military bases that honor Confederate war leaders.
For a little breaking news, we are also going to be restoring the names to Fort Pickett, Fort Hood, Fort Gordon, Fort Rucker, Fort Polk, Fort A.P. Hill, and Fort Robert E. Lee. We won a lot of battles out of those forts. It's no time to change.
Tina, Joe Biden renamed those bases honouring the Confederates back in 2023. The nation's largest base, Bragg, was briefly known as Fort Liberty, but all that is over, Tina.
Yeah, and I think look, it's a great thing to do, as I said, particularly on the 250th anniversary of the US Army, to honour these legends that the military have a great respect for. And we're absolutely disgusted when
This
Joe
is what
Biden
the
did
Democrats are going to do. They're going to try to interrupt this celebration.
Well, the military has really been boosted under Donald Trump, hasn't it? We've seen record recruitment numbers. We're hearing morale is high again. And there's just been such a dramatic shift in the culture of the place.
There's now a great respect for the military, and you've got Pete Hesketh doing a fabulous job. And, people are proud now to join a force that they see is honourable and doing the right thing. And not you don't have to be some sort of DEI program to further your career in the Army. They see it as a legitimate career move. So it's a good thing, Rita. It's great to see. I wish it would happen in Australia, quite frankly.
Absolutely. Return meritocracy to the military. Now, there has been some disquiet from elements of the Trump base about the lack of arrests by the FBI, some criticism of Kash Patel. Here is Kash Patel, the FBI director, explaining what his team is finding and what they're doing.
When I first got to the Bureau, found a room that Comey and others hid from the world in the Hoover building, full of documents and computer hard drives that no one had ever seen or heard of. Locked the key and hid access and just said, no one's ever going to find this place.
What?
Yeah. So my guys are going through that right now.
What's in there?
A lot of stuff. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, well, okay, go arrest him. And I'm like, okay, well, how about you let me run a methodical investigation?
This is going to take time, Tina. And that's if they find evidence of criminality. You would think whoever's been guilty there has had plenty of time to destroy the evidence. They knew there was going to be a change in administration.
That's true.
Are we going to see those arrests that so many in the base are wanting to see?
Look, I think you will, but as you said, it takes time, and it's great to see such transparency and such honesty from the government. But it will take time. But I think, Kash Patel, he's not going to muck around, Rita, not at all.
No, I don't think he will. Before you go, I've played examples of the American media doing its best to paint these violent protests as mostly peaceful, just like they did with BLM and Antifa. They're blaming the administration for the violence that's happening. And one man who would ordinarily be doing that, but he's not at the moment, Tina, because he's been suspended by his employer. That's ABC's Terry Moran. He was suspended after this bizarre tirade against President Trump and Stephen Miller. Part of it, I'll just read you a little bit of it because it went on for some time. He said, "It's not brains, it's bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with a capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater." And he also said, "You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate." I mean, the whole thing was crazy.
Yeah.
And now there's reports coming out of the ABC that his colleagues, at least some of them who are talking to the New York Post, are saying they want to see him sacked. They don't want to just see a suspension because it makes all of them look terrible.
Well, not only that, it's cost ABC millions of dollars. So presenters are now going to tread more carefully regarding Trump. They don't want to cost their jobs and television stations any more money. But yeah, I think they are calling for his sack, and hopefully he will be sacked and taught a lesson.
And it was only a few weeks ago that he got a one-on-one interview with Donald Trump. So how quickly things change. Tina McQueen, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, Rita.
That's awesome. That's freaking wild. Oh, it's so wild. Let's come over to the next story here.
The truth is, anyone who actually wants a safe, comfortable life and a real shot at the American dream, you're better off living in a red state like my free state of Florida than in Los Angeles or the state of our next guest. Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma, a great state, a red state, joins us. He, too, was going back and forth with Gavin Newsom on Twitter today. He just texted me and asked me if I was going to cover what he had to say. And I said, sure, but I'll fact check you, as I always do. He has time to be sending posts back and forth between me and him and you and him, and he's on podcasts and he's doing MSDNC and local media bashing Trump, and meanwhile, in full denial of what's been going on in his city and what the damage that has been caused by his sanctuary state policies. What's your reaction?
Well, I mean, here's a guy that has a state that underneath his reign as governor has lost 3 million people leaving the state. They rank #1 in murders in the nation. They have #1 cost of living, high cost of living. They have the #1 highest prices in the nation. And you're sitting here.
If you hang on, let's listen in on Gavin Newsom, then I'll give you a chance to respond first. I don't think we have any volume. All right. I guess we have no. Is that on their end or is it on our end? I'm asking. That's on their end. Apparently a live feed. He's having a little bit of difficulty, Markwayne Mullin. If you have time for podcasts and MSDNC and to fight me on X and you on X, I think you're kind of missing the point. Or if you put handcuffs on police.
He absolutely is, Sean, but this is part of the best thing that could happen to him. He's having audio difficulties, but it shows how bad the state's being ran too, right? The guy absolutely should be thanking President Trump right now for trying to restore an order, because the only thing Governor Newsom is good at right now is sucking at being #1, at being terrible governor. I mean, that is it. The guy has literally has ran California into the ground. I mean, here California is a beautiful state, but at the same time, they have poor leadership. I mean, look, they gave us Kamala Harris. They gave us Mr. Fang himself, Swalwell, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. And you're thinking, what type of leadership do they have there on the west coast of California? Because things are going completely backwards. Why isn't California thriving like the rest of the country? Well, because they have a blue state ran by woke DEI agenda that doesn't support law and order. And thank God we have a president that's willing to stand up for the people of Los Angeles, even if they may not have supported him.
All right, I'm talking to my control room, and they're telling me that there's no audio available. I'm trying to put Gavin Newsom up. We can show a shot of it again. I'd like to carry it for people. I'd like to hear him again excoriate Donald Trump and blame Donald Trump. Oh, it just went down completely. I mean, you can't make this up.
You can't. You can't make this up.
You really can't. He wanted me to cover it. He texted me. I'm like, sure, I'll cover it. But if you've given out false information, I'll fact check you. But here's the sad part to me. And I said this in my final exchange with him, that to me, he's put his own blind political ambition over the safety of law enforcement and the safety of the law-abiding people in Los Angeles in this case, but in his state. Sanctuary, city, and state policies put handcuffs on cops. They can't do their job. They can't help ICE. Look at the people that I went through in my opening monologue, the people, the worst of the worst, as ICE has been saying and the administration has been saying. You're looking at murderers, gang members, child molesters. Why would you fight to keep those people in your state? I don't want people like that in my state of Florida. Get out. Why would you do that? And I'm scrolling the failure of California, the victims, the criminal history of people in California. Gavin, have you ever called these people, these families, and said you're sorry or said, I'm going to fix this? The answer is no. We'll keep scrolling. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, you sit there and you think about what he's doing. He's just auditioning to be president, right? But they've got so far to the left that they can't come back to the center. Even when President Trump is trying to support them at restoring law and order, they have to be anti-Trump because that's where the Democrat base is at. It's anti anything that Trump supports, no matter how right or how good it is for even their state. It is, you're talking about leadership, like you said. Has he called any of these victims that's been victims of these criminals that have been breaking the law because they've created a sanctuary city? At the same time, I want to make the comparison. President Trump, underneath his presidency, unfortunately, in his first presidency, we lost some men and women in uniform in Oklahoma. There wasn't one single family that I reached out to that President Trump hadn't personally already reached out to and offer them almost everything. I don't want to get into it because some of it President Trump probably wouldn't like me to talk about because he's kind of private in that nature. But the fact is, President Trump always leads from the front. He's willing to do what is right, regardless of what other people may think of him, and regardless of even what their party affiliation is. And he's showing it right here, too, even with the National Guard, Sean. Let me just go through this. Yeah. The Democrats are absolutely going through and throwing a fit that he's mobilized the National Guard. But we realize that Eisenhower did this in 1957 when they had a racist governor in Arkansas that had mobilized the National Guard to prevent he wanted to prevent segregation, and Eisenhower took over the National Guard to actually enforce desegregation. It's happened again when President Kennedy in 62 and in 63 underneath the same circumstances,
all they doing
but
is
happened in Mississippi and Alabama. And President Johnson did this
they uploaded to the internet
when he activated the National Guard. All this is what? To protect people's civil rights. Let's look what's happening right now in California. If you're taking pictures of your cell phone, civil rights are being destroyed because San Francisco, L.A., and California wants to become a sanctuary city and state and allow illegals to do just what they're doing right here. And President Trump isn't having it. He's going to stand up for people. Period.
See, I blame the left because what they have done, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong, you're the lawmaker. The same question I asked Senator Kennedy. When you institutionalize lawbreaking
New York City
by giving sanctuary status, and with that, for example, in California comes, you get a free education, you get free health care, et cetera. When you institutionalize it, when you prevent cops from even asking somebody's status, then you are institutionalizing lawbreaking, or where I come from, maybe not from out there, that would be called aiding and abetting lawbreakers. How is it not aiding and abetting if I'm wrong?
Yeah. You're 100% correct. You're encouraging bad behavior. We say this all the time in our family. A thief isn't just born that way. A thief takes the first opportunity to become a thief. When you allow criminal activity to take place just by a little bit, by ignoring the simple fact that you're in the country illegal, you encourage additional bad behavior. And they may just start stealing your bubble gum, and eventually they're going to grow into a more serious situation to, unfortunately, where we see rape and murder. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but it is what's happening in these cities. And anybody could have saw this happening. We could have saw this moving forward because it was bubbling.
Stay right there.
Sir.
Here's Gavin Newsom. They finally got his feet up, I hope.
I want to be clear about this. If you incite violence or destroy our communities, you're going to be held to account. That kind of criminal behavior will not be tolerated. Full stop. Already more than 220 people have been arrested, and we're reviewing tapes to build additional cases, and people will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Again, thanks to our law enforcement officers and the majority of Angelenos who protested peacefully, the situation was winding down and was concentrated in just a few square blocks downtown. But that's not what Donald Trump wanted. He again chose escalation.
It went dead again. But Mark Wayne Mullen, notice what he does. He's blaming Trump. Law enforcement can't even ask if they're in the country legally. I mean, that's the unbelievable thing to me.
You know, I never fired.
By the way, he needs a tech operator.
He does. And Sean, I was going to say that I've never fired anybody for making a mistake. I fired a lot of people for not admitting he made a mistake. Gavin Newsom needs to be fired as governor. There is no way this guy should be running that state.
Nope.
Well, I will tell you this. I think.
attending
All right, let's listen to him. Let's dip in again.
Be removed.
Let's see.
Pulling a military dragnet all across Los Angeles, well beyond his stated intent to just go after violent and serious criminals. His agents are arresting dishwashers, gardeners, day laborers, and seamstresses. That's just weakness masquerading as strength.
Wow.
Donald Trump's government
He's
isn't
saying
protecting our communities.
illegals,
They're
that's all they know how
traumatizing
to
our
do.
communities. And that seems to be the entire point. California will keep fighting.
Damn, that's
We'll keep
fucked up.
fighting on behalf of our people, all of our people, including in the courts. Just yesterday, we filed a legal challenge to Donald Trump's reckless
Which they
deployment
lost.
of American troops to a major American city. Today, we sought an emergency court order to stop the use of the
why
American
they have to
military
do this?
to engage in law enforcement activities across
have to
Los
do
Angeles. If some of us could be
Hold
snatched
on, let me
off the
pause for a
streets
second
without a
because I can
warrant,
pause it.
based only on suspicion,
Because nobody cares about this guy. You know why Trump is doing this, right? Let me make myself big. Trump is doing this because the world is going to be watching. We have the World Cup coming up. We have the Olympics coming up. And they both are going to be in the Los Angeles, California area and throughout the United States. We have to rid of these people because these people are a security threat. They're a threat to all security. All Americans are under siege. You're not realizing it because you guys are eyes wide shut. And it should be like eyes wide open. You guys are not realizing we are under siege by a foreign entity that came through the borders. And they're going to wreak havoc throughout this country and make it look like it's the Americans and we're the bad ones. In reality, it's the civil unrest that came through the border. The weapon is activated. The activation, riots. There's so many forms of disruption that has come through that border that's going to be happening in this country. And the United States, you're in for a rude awakening. And it's going to happen. And it sucks, but it's not good times. It's not good times. I keep saying it. 2025 is crazy. It's continue. We're just halfway of the first year of Trump. This is like he's only been in office for almost, it's going to be 6 months. We have the Olympics, we have the World Cup that's coming next year. And we have to clean out the immigrants out of California. All these sanctuary cities that claim to be sanctuary cities, no, you're not. You're not. Because we all fall under this thing called the Constitution, and we are the United States of America. And we have an allegiance. And one thing that is not stated anywhere in the Constitution, nothing about sanctuary cities. There's no talk about sanctuary cities in the Constitution. So if I was these people, I would self-deport. Self-deport, you get a free ticket to go back home, and it'd be easier to leave now, because the longer you stay here, the worse it's going to be, and yes, they will come after you. So go the easy way. Just go the easy way. You came illegal. You know you're illegal. You're in the wrong, no matter what. As much right you want to spill and speak and say, I'm right. I know you're wrong. You came through a wrong process. You didn't even get vetted. You didn't even go through the process of becoming anything of here. No work visa, no visas, no nothing. They just came through the border, and then now they're mad because we're kicking them out. And you gotta understand, a lot of bad people came through that border. Lots of murderers, rapists, all the bad words you want to think of that came through that border. And they're here. They're here. And we have to deal with it. And Trump has to deal with it with force. And it's going to take an army, a whole army, to get rid of these people and screen them all out. And Trump is going to have to activate the armed forces. He's going to have to activate the army. And he's going to activate them, and he's going to clear all this out. We're going to have to clear them out, gather them all up, arrest them, put them in buses, and ship them out. They'll do a big ass camp where they keep them all, put a tent city, a temporary jail to house these individuals and put them in tents. And yeah, they've done it before. It's not new. They can do it again. But it's going to be very unique times. And the fact we're celebrating the 250th, of the military and so forth, in our country, and they're preparing for something big for the 14th of nationwide gaslit bullshit protests that it's gonna spark chaos and looting, and it's gonna be so bad this Saturday. I told you guys, if you guys knew, I'm like, welcome. My name is Rick, and this is my mind over your matter. And I said this for a long time, for a while now, that I felt the weirdness in this energy, and I knew something was going to happen. I said within 2 weeks. I was like, within 2 weeks. I was very specific too. I was like, something's going to happen. The energy is so hype. I was feeling it. I was like, oh man, and I put it on film. So just, you're going to have to go back and watch. At least I started a new season, and I have them actually episoded by number. So you could go back and watch. Start from 1 and work your way up. I think right now we're 38. So it's already been 38 episodes since I came back, and some of them are pretty long. So I don't expect you to watch and spend your whole time watching, but it is a good watch. Let's see what's going on over here. Let's continue with this clown, Gavin Newsom. He needs to be put in Alcatraz. I'm the only one. There's a Rick wants him in Alcatraz. Hell yeah, him and Nancy Pelosi too. There's a lot of them. Maxine Waters. Like, you got a whole bunch of people that need to go to Alcatraz. I mean, like the whole Democrats, all the Democrats. Put the whole Democrat on an island. Yep, and then we'll call it Gilligan's Island. We'll change Alcatraz and make it Gilligan's Island. Oh man, I used to love watching Gilligan's Island. It was a good show. All right, I digress. Let me continue this, and then I got a lot more to show, but I'm trying to hurry up and get through it.
Or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. Trump and his loyalists, they thrive on division because it allows them to take more power and exert even more control. And by the way, Trump, he's not opposed to lawlessness and violence as long as it serves him. What more evidence do we need than January 6th? Ask everyone. Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or constitution, perpetuating a unified assault on American traditions. This is a president who in just over 140 days has fired government watchdogs that could hold him accountable for corruption and fraud. He's declared a war on culture, on history, on science, on knowledge itself. Databases quite literally are vanishing. He's delegitimizing news organizations, and he's assaulting the First Amendment. And the threat of defunding them, at threat, he's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society.
He sounds like a rat.
He's calling
there.
for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason
Yo,
than
you're a rat.
in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests
this guy's a
here in
weirdo,
Los
man.
Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about all of us. California may be first. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other democracy are next. Is democracy. Democracy is under democracy is before our eyes. This moment, this moment has arrived.
All right, we have apparently more audio problems and more feed problems with Gavin Newsom.
That was dumb.
Mark Wayne Mullen,
That wasn't me.
while he was doing this and trying to blame Donald Trump for pretty much anything and everything that's ever gone wrong in history, it's interesting because I scrolled the names of victims of violent crime. I'm scrolling it right now in California. And in multiple private texts and publicly in my battle and my fight with him on X, because he had nothing better to do but to respond to both of us on X. In every single case, what about the people murdered, Gavin? What about the people raped? What about the victims of violent crime? What about the big lie that they told us the border's closed, the border's secure? What about all of that, Gavin? He never addresses any of these issues. He is not keeping law enforcement or the people in his state, the people in these sanctuary states and cities safe. That's the problem. And law enforcement, again, has their hands tied. I mean, we see this now spreading. Is he going to blame Donald Trump for what's happening in New York City? Or is it the fact that the left in America wanted wide open borders, supported wide open borders, lied about wide open borders, and they're still championing the rights of the illegals over the safety of Americans? Which is it?
Well, this goes back to what I was saying right before he started again. He can't admit he made a mistake. That's why he needs to be fired. Let's unpack a few things that he said there, right? Like he said that President Trump just wanted to escalate it. He forgets to remember that the chief, LA police chief, literally said he was overwhelmed and he needed help. Let's not forget about that part. And then when he talked about the parade that's going to happen on June 14th, which is this Saturday, He says it's president's birthday, which it is. It's also my anniversary, by the way, 28 years. But he also forget to tell you it's the Army's birthday and it's Flag Day. So let's forget about the details. And just as long as it meets your narrative, he's such a liar that you can't believe anything he's coming out of his mouth. And can you believe this guy actually thinks he can be president of the United States? He may actually be worse than Joe Biden if he were to get elected president of the United States.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, we appreciate your time, Mark Wayne Mullen. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews.
That is wild. That's wild. It's just, let's see something else here. Let's keep it moving.
I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The latest chapter in the ongoing battle between the White House and the legacy media just resulted in the suspension of ABC's veteran journalist Terry Moran after a middle-of-the-night social media post.
ABC's Terry Moran facing disciplinary action from the network for an X post published at 12:06 a.m. Sunday, where Moran slammed.
Hold on. Does it have sound? Let me see. Does it have sound? I have to check on my phone. It's been acting weird, the internet and stuff. Let me see if it came out. Let me see. I gotta check. Because then I have to do something to restart it. No, it does have sound. Yeah, it has sound. Where's the sound? I don't know. But it has sound. Let me just continue here.
Slammed top Trump aide Stephen Miller, calling him a world-class hater, adding his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment.
And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist.
Moran's post also calls the president a world-class hater. In response, Vice President J.D. Vance urging the public to remember that every time you watch ABC's coverage of the Trump administration.
I think this speaks to the distrust that the American public have in the legacy media.
ABC swiftly suspending Moran, releasing a statement maintaining the news organization stands for objectivity and impartiality in its news coverage and does not condone subjective personal attacks on others.
Thank you for doing this.
In April, Moran sat down with President Trump in the Oval Office for an interview where there were a few tense moments.
I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview. I am. And then you start hitting me with fake questions. You're being dishonest. No, I'm not.
In December, ABC News agreed to pay $15 million to the Trump Presidential Library to settle a defamation lawsuit for inaccurate comments made by anchor George Stephanopoulos against President Trump. CBS also faces a lawsuit by Trump for alleged deceptive editing of an interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris. CBS now negotiating with Trump about a possible multi-million-dollar settlement.
No reporter, no news organization can have open contempt for a political party or an elected official and maintain its credibility. It just comes across as unprofessional, and people lose confidence in the organization that is doing this.
The conservative watchdog site Media Research Center conducted a review in April and found the Trump administration received 92% negative coverage from ABC, NBC, and CBS. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
That's wild. Let's get to the next story. Look at the little boy crying because his daddy got got by ICE. So you're gonna see a little boy crying here. So, yeah, you're going to cry because your daddy got taken away, but he's illegal and you're probably illegal too. And you got to go with him. You know, that's your parents' fault. That's not your fault, little boy. Blame it on your parents, because they made decisions that put you at risk. And this is what happens. So let's listen to this little boy cry. And yeah, it's 1 minute and 25 seconds. So it's not that long.
7-year-old Jorge Vasquez cried uncontrollably as he watched ICE agents take his father away in handcuffs. His 15-year-old brother, Brian, yelled, "I'll see you soon, Dad."
I lost all I feel is sad. I can't live peacefully without my dad.
48-year-old Arturo Vasquez was taken into custody by ICE agents on Sunday, June 8th, around 2:25 p.m. at the Culver City Car Wash, where he was with his family. Over the weekend, several ICE raids targeted car washes, but Arturo didn't work there. He was simply there to wash his car.
It was normal people working their jobs, trying to provide for their own families to have a better life.
Brian admits
But
his
you're
father is
illegal.
undocumented. He
It's
says when ICE
undocumented.
agents showed up at the car wash, his father panicked and tried to leave, but agents stopped him and took him into custody. Witnesses at the car wash were furious.
I know, that's sad. I don't want to go out anymore because I'm afraid that I'm being followed or I will get detained, even though I'm a U.S. citizen. That's why now I carry on my passport and my ID. All I want right now is my daddy here home.
That your daddy's an immigrant, so your daddy's illegal. And I'm sorry for your feelings and sorry for your crying, boohooing, but illegal is illegal. Last time I checked, you came in illegal. You overstayed your visa. That's illegal. You walked in through the borders. That's illegal. If you didn't go through the proper channels, yeah. So, but why do we have to feel bad or sad? Or it's not. We didn't make this decision. You guys did, and you guys are here. Like I said, the locusts. When the locusts come, they eat all the crops and they eat everything, and it's like it's a plague. It's a plague, and there's over 20 million people. That's a big number. If you had that money in your pocket, if you had $20 million in your pocket, imagine that. Take a moment and just imagine $20 million in your bank account and you have money in your pockets. How would that make you feel? That make you feel real good, right? You feel like you're invisible. You feel like you can buy anything and you can have anything you want because you're a millionaire. Now turn that energy, and then now 20 million illegal immigrants that came into this country. Now, how you feel with 20 million individuals that you don't know who they are, you don't know where they're at, and they're here in this country and they're eating up our resources, they're taking up our housing. That's why everything is so expensive. Housing is so expensive because they're here. Of course, they need to sleep somewhere, right? And if they take up so many properties from all over the place, guess what? The price is going to go up. So, because there's not many availability. So by demand, people need housing, so they up the rents, and then they make the rents too unaffordable. And that's the problem because there's no availability. So they have the owners take advantage and they raise up the rents, and the rents are expensive. I discussed the other day on one of my shows, I think it was 2-3 days back, maybe 4 days back, about 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $3,000 here. That's crazy. A 2-bedroom, 2-bath, $3,000. Yeah, it's crazy, man. This has to happen. I don't feel bad, but it just has to happen. We need structure. We need to bring this back together again, because right now the enemy is within, the virus is inside. They are already inside our country. This is an invasion. This is a war. It's going to turn into a war, a civil war. And it's not Americans against Americans. No, it's not. It's Americans against foreigners. Foreigners. Civil war. And that's what they want. That's what the Democrats want. That's what they want. So let me start this here, and then let me fix the screen. Okay, let me come back over here. I'm doing this live, okay? So bear with me. Yeah, it's this one.
In major cities across the country, protests erupted. Demonstrations from coast to coast. Like in New York.
What do we do? No somos yet!
With people storming the streets. Or this neighborhood outside Phoenix.
Oh, no! Oh, no!
Thousands demonstrating against ICE raids.
No one's illegal!
And in some places, clashes giving way to vandalism and looting. Oh, all further inflaming rhetoric on all sides, now coming to a head in the streets of Los Angeles.
Let's go, let's move it!
As tensions flare up, heading into another night of unrest.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top
I got a
stories.
song with that hey hey ho ho. Mine's is hey hey ho ho, immigrants got to go. Hey hey ho ho, illegal immigrants got to go. Hey hey ho ho, illegal immigrants got to go. Hey hey ho ho, right? Illegal immigrants gotta go. See how I flipped the script on that one, and now it's like whoa, you know. Rick just turned that shit around. He's like, oh shit, he came up with his own little jingle. He's like, hey, hey, ho, ho, immigrants gotta go. And then he mixed it up with the illegal immigrants got to go. Hey, hey. Oh man. I'm priceless. Let's check out another story here. So let's keep it going. These are stories from last night, so I'm just going down the line because these are all the ones that I have opened. So let's go.
Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is taking the Trump administration to court over its decision to send troops into Los Angeles. You've got a live aerial view tonight of the city. You can see there are people walking around down on the ground. You can see it looks like somebody actually has their arms behind their back as they're taking somebody into custody. This has been the sight we've been seeing for the last several nights in a row. Hundreds of people have been arrested as protests have erupted and at times turned violent.
Wow, look how the one's standing against the wall.
Against a building right
They're all
now.
arrested.
We're going to be working throughout the night to get details on what
Wow.
arrests are taking place and what events led up to these particular one. Now, the president has defended the move to send all of these soldiers into the city as he was giving a speech today at Fort Bragg. Connor Hansen has the latest tonight.
If we didn't do it, there wouldn't be a Los Angeles. It'd be burning today, just like the houses were burning a number of months ago.
Speaking to soldiers at Fort Bragg, President Trump defended his decision to send thousands of National Guardsmen and 700 Marines into L.A. The troops are there to protect federal officers and buildings, but California officials say they're not wanted.
I have declared a local emergency and issued a curfew for downtown Los Angeles to stop the vandalism, to stop the looting.
Governor Gavin Newsom has asked a federal judge to prevent the troops from acting as law enforcement in the city.
California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
Meanwhile, Trump's Fort Bragg speech gave a preview of a planned military parade Saturday celebrating 250 years of the U.S. Army.
We're going to celebrate on Saturday, and we're going to celebrate from now on.
That same day, a group called No Kings is holding nationwide counter demonstrations, though the group says it is not organizing a protest in Washington. And with government spending top of mind, even some Republicans are skeptical of the parade.
I'm not sure what the actual expense of it is, but I'm not really, we were always different than, the images you saw of the Soviet Union and North Korea. We were proud not to be that.
Since last Friday, ICE agents in LA have reportedly arrested around 300 people in the country illegally. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
This is going to get very freaking interesting. It lands on the same day they scheduled for the big protest nationwide on the day of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. And it's on Flag Day because Flag Day is June 14, which is the Saturday. And now these people are organizing to have a huge protest on that day nationwide. Trump needs to move on this. He needs to activate the National Guard right now, nationwide, all activated reserves. They have to come in and check in and activate for security purposes. every state has National Guards, so they need to be deployed, like now. Because don't sit on this. You have a very big event this Saturday. You don't think something terroristic won't happen? Because I think that's an opportunity for something big to happen this Saturday. Because remember, they want to be marked in history. It's always about history, and a lot of history from the past has been erased because people like the Democrats burned the books, and a lot of really important stories and important things from the past is forever gone, and we'll never know because everything is recorded, like what I'm doing right now on YouTube. And they're setting up some. That's why I was feeling something big. Man, I told you guys, man, go back and watch when I said the next 2 weeks. I don't know. I kept feeling it. I kept saying it. It's like I felt I'm feeling it. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so good at what I do. I guess when you get closer to death, it's like you get to see more and feel more, and you feel the energy. And I felt that energy. Oh man. And it kicked off with that solar flare. When that solar flare, and I was getting those headaches, because I was getting like really bad headaches, I knew something was up. And I felt the energy so strong. I was like, something's gonna happen. Something's big gonna happen. Like with this military and all this protest going on, this is a great opportunity for Iran and all this other stuff that's going on around the world to start activating like pure chaos. Man. But here in the United States, these people are pushing back, and they're gonna want to intrude and mark their own history on a very historic day that this nation will be celebrating. They want to put themselves in the narrative. That is so, like, what a horrible like side of history they're going to be in. What a shame. What a shame. This is, to me, it's like, it's disgusting. It is. I feel disgusted. But let's go to and this is the peacefulness. You want to go watch? We're gonna watch some peace, okay? And then I want you to give me your piece of your mind in the chat, or leave comments, because I do review the comments on the channel. So that's a great way to communicate, is through the comments on the channel. But let's go ahead to go to the next story here. And this is peaceful, okay? You ready for this? The other people get arrested. See that? You see that chaos? That's peaceful. T-Mobile, like, they went in there and ransacked T-Mobile. And this is where the World Cup is coming to. You got to control this now. You got to clean this up now. If you don't clean it up now, this is going to happen during the World Cup. And we don't want this to happen during the World Cup, so you got to deal with the problem now before the more important people start coming to the city. So this needs to end. This needs to be handled.
Anti-ICE demonstrators are gearing up to enter their 5th day of protesting on the streets of Los Angeles. More than 40 people have been arrested in a sweeping operation by US Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Donald Trump is vowing to keep troops in Los Angeles until there is no danger.
So in Los Angeles, we believe that ICE, which is a federal law enforcement agency, has the right to safely conduct operations in any state and any jurisdiction in the country, especially after 21 million illegals have crossed our border under the previous
21 million.
The violence on the streets of LA quelled overnight and throughout the morning. It has been relatively quiet. Those are the reports that we have been getting from the ground. But as you can see, it seems like authorities, police, riot police and Marines who are on the ground and also the National Guard seem to be mobilising on the streets, and there are more and more people
the military
coming onto the streets as well. Around 700 US Marines will be deployed until more National Guard troops can arrive. Some say the federal government is contributing to the chaos in a power move against the local government. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is pleading for the federal government to stop immigration raids.
This should not be happening in our city. It is not warranted, and the only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C. On Thursday, the city was peaceful. On Friday, it was not, because of the intervention of the federal government.
Businesses in the area have begun cleaning up after several stores were looted and cars were set ablaze. Residents say they are watching their city be destroyed.
I wanted to let the city know that I have declared a local emergency and issued a curfew for downtown Los Angeles to stop the vandalism, to stop the looting. Many businesses have now been affected by or vandalized. Last night, there were 23 businesses that were looted. And I think that if you drive through downtown LA, the graffiti is everywhere and has caused significant damages to businesses and a number of properties. So my message to you is, if you do not live or work in downtown LA, avoid the area. Law enforcement will arrest individuals who break the curfew, and you will be prosecuted. Hundreds of officers from police and sheriff departments from across the region and state are working alongside LAPD through a unified command structure. The curfew will be in place tonight from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m.
You said it was peaceful. Nothing happened. Everything was okay. Don't need the military. Okay.
It's hard to believe how much the American media left is trying to play down the extraordinary violence we've seen in Los Angeles since Friday, when immigration officials arrested illegal immigrants and a local Democratic politician summoned a mob to come confront them. Those officials came under a vicious attack. I mean, at times it looked like attempted murder, and at other times it looked like an insurrection by foreign nationals flying the Mexican flag. Here are some examples of that coverage.
The LA County Police say that they have it under control.
These agents are the ones provoking protesters and also making up, aggression by these protesters that later video shows people were not aggressive.
We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests.
You know, you've heard reports that there are riots on the streets of Los Angeles. That is not what's happening across the city of Los Angeles.
Governor Newsom's right. There's anything like a riot happening.
Well, I don't think the National Guard is needed now. Things in LA are calm.
It's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
Most of those demonstrations were very peaceful.
Doesn't it really often seem like organized lying to you? California's Democrat governor, Gavin Newsom, he's now saying he'll sue President Donald Trump for sending in the National Guard to control the rioting. Trump, in turn, says his top border official, Tom Homan, could well arrest Newsom.
Gavin Newsom
to come and arrest him. Should he do it? I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
Joining me is Donald Trump's first White House spokesman, Sean Spicer. Sean Spicer, great to see you again. America in flames again. How did this one start?
You know, Andrew, that's a fantastic question. You're probably the only one in the media world that's asking that, because I went over this on my show today. Let me just take you down the road here. On Saturday, there was a Democrat assemblyman from California, and he saw ICE agents going into their office, into the fenced-in area where they work. They were driving their trucks, etc. And so he started to live stream it and said to folks, come gather in this paramount section of California that he represents, because something's got to be happening.
They're here on the corner at a business of Alondra. It's called Paramount Business Center, right across from Paramount.
So hundreds of people came down to observe federal agents going to their place of work. Okay? That's what started this. He gathered people because he said it looks suspicious. Now, I get why people in California think anyone working on a Saturday is suspicious. But the bottom line is they were just going to their office.
Yep.
And then what happened was, as the gates opened in this area where they keep their trucks, for the ICE agents, as the gates opened, they started to pelt the trucks with rocks, and they burned 3 cars on fire. Now, so to be clear, when people talk about the issue escalating, these individuals literally went to work. They went into their office and got into their cars. And that's what precipitated all of this. There was no action. There was no raid. There was no roundup. They literally went into the office, and a Democratic assemblyman from California got people all fired up because he assumed, because it was a Saturday, something must be going on. And their immediate reaction was,
so basically summoned a mob. You're saying he's summoned a mob.
Yes,
this Democrat politician.
Exactly. No, he summoned them up and then unleashed them. And then they threw rocks and lit cars on fire.
Now, the media coverage since, right, minimizing what's going on, blaming Donald Trump for provoking it, and I think you've just had a very good counter to that argument. But the media coverage in particular, and that of some Democrat shills on the media, what do you make of it?
I mean, it's insane that Kamala Harris put her first comprehensive statement out since losing, and she talked about our immigrant neighbors. It's insulting and it's gaslighting. I'm the grandson or great-grandson of immigrants. Most people in this country, if you're not Native American, came from somewhere. There's a difference, though. They want to use language that acts like this is some innocent group of people. They are in this country illegally. They are attacking federal agents. They are not our neighbors, our friends. I don't, generally speaking, I don't know about you guys in Australia, but my neighbors, I don't throw stones at them. I don't light their cars on fire. They don't do that to me. Maybe that's just where I'm from, but generally speaking, that's not a neighborly thing to do. And yet the Democrats want to think that we don't see this, that we don't see them waving Mexican flags, lighting things on fire, throwing rocks at federal agents. They don't think that we see this, and they say it's mostly peaceful, it's contained, it's under control. These are our immigrant neighbors. They are our friends without papers. No, at the bottom line is every one of these people who ICE goes after is at the very least guilty of breaking the law when it comes to coming into our country illegally. Now, many cases, there's more laws that they've broken, but I don't know why Democrats continue to double down on stupid in this country.
I think part of the problem here, Sean, is that California has defied U.S. laws for years, calling itself a sanctuary state. It's banned its officials from cooperating with federal officials trying to enforce federal laws on illegal immigrants, when immigration is and should be a federal responsibility, because what one state lets in, the rest of the country inherits. So why does Donald Trump now want Gavin Newsom charged? Is it over this?
You know, this is where I think you talk about the malpractice of the media here in the United States. There's an issue that I've been bringing up for the last 24 hours that hasn't gotten much attention. It's one thing if it's a local library in LA or a police station or a park. These are federal agents and federal property. Donald Trump doesn't just have a responsibility. In fact, he has an obligation to protect federal agents and federal property. What makes this instance so different, and I know our media doesn't want to talk about this, is it's one thing to nationalize the guard, and we have a very interesting system here where you can be a state guardsman. They call it Title 32. You report to the governor, or the federal government can call you up under Title 10. It's different U.S. codes. But the bottom line is that there is no question, zero question, that the president of the United States has the responsibility to protect federal agents and federal property. And when these individuals, because most of them, I don't know, were citizens, and that's the other thing they keep talking about, are citizens. From what I see, the number of people waving Mexican flags and saying, F ICE and do all this, I don't think there are citizens.
No.
But even if they are, Donald Trump has an obligation to protect federal agents and federal property, and that's what he's doing. Had he not been doing that, he would be derelict in his duties.
If it hadn't been for this eruption of violence in California, we would be probably talking about Donald Trump's big bust up with Elon Musk. Elon Musk tweeting that the only reason the files hadn't been released of Jeffrey Epstein, the pedophile who was found dead in jail, is that Donald Trump's name would appear. Musk, in turn, Musk has also said that Donald Trump should be impeached. He's deleted those tweets, but this fallout between Trump and the richest man in the world who did so much to get Trump elected, how's that going now? What's happening here?
Look, here's the way I look at this. Elon, I think, didn't realize that he'd overstayed his welcome when it came to tweeting at Donald Trump. The people, the supporters in the MAGA movement are for Donald Trump, and he learned that the hard way. And I look at this, Andrew, like two bros, two guys who had a little fight, who are never going to apologize, but kind of have gone back to their own corners, quietly, want to take the temperature down. And a year from now, we'll see each other at a barbecue and just going to go, hey, man, good to see you, and then walk away again. I don't know that the relationship will ever be back. In Trump world, it's never over until you die. I mean, there are so many people whose political careers have been resurrected after going after Donald Trump. So I never say never. We're at a good place. We're not going to be hanging out at each other's houses. We're not going to exchange Christmas cards. But I think we're at a détente that'll last for a while.
Sean Spicer, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your...
That was a good one. That was good. Let's go to another one here. Let's go to this one. So go ahead and watch this one.
Police breaking for another night of chaos. But first, we need to step back. We need to remember what these riots are all about. Now, first, we had Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and, of course, Alejandro Mayorkas and every Democrat telling us the border is closed, the border is secure. They lied to us for 4 years. Anywhere between 12 and 20 million unvetted illegals, including known terrorists. We have Iranian assassination squads in the country. We have cartel members. We have gang members. We have murderers. We have rapists. We have other violent criminals. Started there. Then, of course, ICE, in this case, is doing the job of getting rid of these people that Joe and Kamala and others allowed in the country. And, of course, the safe haven created by cities and states like California, cities like Los Angeles. And ICE conducted an operation in Los Angeles, arresting, quote, the worst of the worst illegal alien criminals there. In other words, far-left idiots are now taken to the streets, waving foreign flags, looting stores, burning cars in support of, let's see, murderers, rapists, gang members. Remember, this is the party of Abrego Garcia. So tonight, why don't we introduce you? This was on FoxNews.com to some of the other criminal illegal aliens that the left is so desperate to keep in your country, that Gavin is fighting for, Karen Bass is fighting for. First up, Jose Ortiz from Ecuador, previously sentenced to 11 years in prison after getting caught with 11 kilos of cocaine. That's close to $500,000 worth of cocaine. Next up is Armando Ordaz, or a suspected gang member from Mexico. Now, Armando is a convicted sex offender and a thief. Then, of course, there's Victor Mendoza Aguilar from Mexico, who previously was deported in 2017. This suspected gang member served time for drug charges and deadly assault with a deadly weapon, among other crimes. And here is Delfino Aguilar Martinez from Mexico. He was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon with great bodily injury. Next up is Eswin Ariel Castro, who was also previously deported. Castro has convictions for child molestation, has also been arrested for robbery, domestic violence. And look at your screen. This is Lionel Sanchez Laguna. His crimes include battery to a spouse, cruelty to a child, shooting into a house, assault with a firearm, and a DUI on top of that. We could go on and on. I have pages and pages and pages of people that they are arresting, including a convicted murderer from Vietnam and a guy from the Philippines convicted of an unspeakable sexual assault. But just so we are clear, this is who the anti-ICE protesters are fighting for. These are the people that Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are protecting. These are the people that would still be on the streets of Los Angeles if their mayor, if their governor had their way. They were all protected, every one of them, under LA and California's insane sanctuary city and state policies. Governor Gavin Newsom, who we expect will be speaking in this hour, he has been protecting these criminals for years, never once lifted a finger to protect the law-abiding citizens in his state with sanctuary state laws that Newsom now supports. Get this, police in California, they are not allowed to even ask criminals for their immigration status. State law enforcement officials are barred from working with ICE even to apprehend violent convicted offenders. They can't even hand them over to ICE. My question for Governor Newsom, and I have a lot of them, and we'll put them up maybe in the course of the show tonight, was it worth it? Are you proud of putting innocent Americans in danger by creating a sanctuary for criminal illegal aliens? I'm going to scroll here, the names of victims in California of violent crime. And while we get that up and running, think about this. You know, we scrolled during the 2024 campaign, all the names of people that were murdered and all the people that were raped and all the people that were victims of violent crime because of the open borders that they were lying about, because they said the border's closed, the border's secure. None of that was true. We have the same thing out in the state of California. And my question, we know that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris never picked up a phone. They never called the victims. They never called Laken Riley's family, Rachel Morin's family, Jalsa Nungari's family. Did Gavin Newsom ever call the victims' families in California? Now, probably won't answer that question, although he did take a lot of time to respond and fight with me on X during the height of the riot. And also Mark Wayne Mullen also took time to do multiple interviews on friendly left-wing legacy media mob networks like MSDNC. He even, in the middle of all this, had time to do podcasts just so he could trash Donald Trump while pretending to be a martyr, almost begging to be arrested. It is, as usual, pathetic. He's putting his own blind political ambition over the safety of law enforcement and the safety of the law-abiding citizens of Los Angeles and in his own state. Instead of conducting himself like a leader when a state needed him the most, Gavin Newsom was trying to use the riots for political gain. In fact, one California sheriff is telling Newsom, put the phone down, be quiet, because he, quote, is doing nothing but fueling this process. Remember, during the Pacific Palisades fires, he claimed no responsibility. Remember, they had fire hydrants. They were empty. They had reservoirs. They were empty, too. And then his answer was, well, it's not my fault. You need to ask the local elected officials. I'm on the phone right now, ma'am, talking to Joe Biden. He wasn't talking to Joe Biden. Well, I'm going to talk to Joe Biden. But it's not just Gavin Newsom. The response of almost every top Democrat has been totally bizarre, completely dishonest. I mean, you have Kamala Harris, you have Adam Schiff, you have Cory Booker. You've got all the predictable actors. Now we can add Hillary Clinton to the list. Maxine Waters claiming there's no violence, none at all, in Los Angeles. Don't believe what your eyes are showing you. Take a look.
The protests, and even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know.
Oh, I went to a couple of streets, and I know, never mind what's on TV, never mind the videos. Oh, let's see, we've got plenty of that we're going to be showing you throughout the night. Really, Maxine? No violence? All of this peaceful? No, we could show pictures. Oh, that's right. Look at that. Car's on fire. That looks like violence taking place there. Oh, another car on fire. Looks like more violence taking place there. Never mind the fact that law enforcement agents, they were being attacked. They were being hit with bricks and mysterious liquids, and baseball bats were placed. And the rioters just conveniently all had gas masks and frozen water bottles. Anyway, and her colleague out there, Nancy Pelosi, said that lighting cars on fire, really not a big deal. The rioters just got caught up in the exuberance of the moment. Is this how you act when you're exuberant? Take a look.
And I say this as a former party chair, when there is a gathering, a large gathering of people, the anarchists see it as an opportunity and they move in. So always have to be careful whether you see a burned car, a broken window, or whatever it is. It may be the exuberance of the moment, but it may be the anarchist setting in.
Wait a minute. I have a question. That horrible attack against her husband, and it was horrible. Was that somebody being exuberant? I'm feeling exuberant. Let me attack somebody. I'm feeling exuberant. Let me attack cops. I'm feeling exuberant. Let me burn some cars. What a genius. And let's not forget about California's junior senator, the congenital liar, Adam Schiff. Yesterday, he filmed himself praising the peaceful nature of the riots. Just pause for a second. You know, in the summer of 2020, the media, Democrats also said they're peaceful. They're mostly peaceful. 24 Americans died, thousands of cops injured, billions in property damage. Kamala said they won't stop, shouldn't stop, and she wouldn't stop supporting them. Remember that? But they cared about only one riot, not the 574 riots. Oh, the border's closed. What are you talking about? Millions of people are walking across it, but it's closed. Joe Biden is cognitively as sharp as he's ever been. It's hard to keep up with him. These people lie all the time. They do all of this while blaming Trump for the riots, you know, not their own sanctuary city and state policies. Take a look.
Things are peaceful here in Los Angeles. I hope and pray that they stay that way. The folks who are being impacted by these immigration sweeps do not want violence done in their name. So outside people, agitators, whoever, just stay the hell out. And as for the president of the United States, commandeering the guard over the opposition of the governor was a pointless and incendiary action. It has made matters worse. And now mobilization of the Marines, also just inflammatory and unnecessary. So do your job and stop making matters worse in Los Angeles.
This is why we call him the congenital liar. You have a party of liars and lunatics. I can't emphasize that enough. These Democrats now speaking out in favor of violent riots taking place in Los Angeles in response to ICE apprehending the worst of the worst illegal immigrants convicted of murder and rape, child molestation in the face of anarchy and crime. And it's no wonder Americans are overwhelmingly supporting Donald Trump's immigration policies. Even fake news CNN pointed this out. It's especially true of illegal immigrants. Take a look.
Immigrant voters, foreign-born voters, have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats.
Now, look at that, a 40-point shift. And by the way, mostly among immigrants, mostly among minorities. They want safety and security in their own homes. They want the law to be followed. They don't want anarchy. And by the way, we'll get to this later with Matt Towery. He has a poll out. 59 to 39 Americans support Donald Trump sending the guard to Los Angeles to help out with the mess there in that sanctuary city and state. Democrats have lost the plot. Under Trump, the deportations, they're going to continue no matter what. And for the record, Matt Towery will join us and explain in detail why the American people approve of this and why there is a transformational political shift in the country as it relates to, the Republican Party versus the Democratic Party. Democratic Party of coastal, woke elitists. They don't want tax cuts. Permanent tax cuts, they're against those. They're going to vote against them. Or no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They're the party that doesn't want energy production in this country and the wealth. They don't want to control the border. They want open borders. Good luck with all these policies. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
That's
click
crazy.
here to subscribe to Fox News
This is
YouTube page.
wild. All right, so this one's going to be the last one because I'm already getting tired and my neck hurts. So this will be the last one, and then I'll come back later on this evening and we'll do another show for round 6 and see how it goes. So let's enjoy this last segment, and I'll call it a show. All right, let's go.
Let's get right to Brooke Sigmund with the very latest on the Los Angeles riots and what took place overnight. Hi, Brooke.
Hey guys, that's right. So some of the 700 Marines in Los Angeles are expected to be deployed today to protect ICE agents, with thousands of National Guard troops waiting in the wings. So the LAPD says dozens of protesters were arrested for refusing to follow the curfew put in place by Mayor Karen Bass, who says it will likely last for several days. And California Governor Gavin Newsom is now vowing consequences for violent protesters while still managing to throw digs at President Trump for even sending in the troops.
People will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He again chose escalation. He chose more force. He chose theatrics over public safety. We honor their service.
This
we
guy needs to be thrown out of government.
But we do not want our streets militarized by
You
our
gotta
own
get him.
forces.
You gotta get
Newsom
him.
claims President Trump never called him when the protests broke out, but the president is bringing in the receipts, providing a screenshot to Fox News of a 16-minute phone call between him and Newsom on Saturday. And President Trump is not backing down on his efforts to stop these violent riots. He issued a stark message to any protesters who burn an American flag. Listen.
These are animals, but they proudly carry the flags of other countries. But they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing.
Yeah, I agree.
1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done.
You burn American
Major
flag.
cities like
you're in
Seattle
jail?
and Chicago
fair.
are also facing similar anti-ICE
They've got to
protests.
build more
In
jails.
New York City, police arrested more than 80 protesters. And with reports that these protests could continue to spread, Texas Governor Greg Abbott isn't taking any chances. He's deploying the National Guard to San Antonio. Guys.
All right, Brooke Sigmund live for us in Washington. Brooke, thank you. Let's bring in California gubernatorial candidate and Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco. Sheriff, good morning to you. As a member of law enforcement and someone who's running for governor, you could talk about this from just about every angle. But first, from the law enforcement perspective, do you think, and do members of law enforcement that are battling these riots on the ground, police officers, the LAPD, do they think that the presence of the National Guard and the Marines is helpful in this situation?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful because what it does is it enables them to protect buildings and property while we can address the issues that are going on with the rioters. When we are spread too thin, when we have to protect buildings that may not be under attack by a protester or something like that, then we really don't have all of our resources to be able to be directed toward the ones that are actually committing the violence. So with that being done, we can direct all of our attention to criminals.
Now, there's a lot of noise surrounding this story. I think it's a pretty simple story. The fact remains that this thing was spiraling into chaos before Trump sent in the National Guard, and now it has stabilized. Is there any other way of viewing this, Sheriff?
No, there isn't. We've been lied to from the very beginning. The politicians, California politicians, the mayor of Los Angeles, our governor, have completely failed in that nothing was happening in the beginning. It was allowed to spiral out of control, and then they have created this narrative that completely defies facts and a timeline that we know happened. And they keep calling it a peaceful protest, mostly peaceful, whatever they want to call it. But the reality is that law enforcement officers are being attacked, property is being destroyed, and it is out of control violence that really they're trying to deny for political gain.
Yeah, and Sheriff, I asked that first question on if it's helpful to have the National Guard and the Marines on the ground, because Gavin Newsom has gone to the courts and tried to get them to no longer be able to be deployed. How do you feel about that if you say that their presence of them is helpful?
It's nothing but childish games. Our governor would rather fight and argue with the president than do something about Los Angeles. And the reality is the National Guard, they could have been deployed immediately, because time and time again, we see that these spiral for 1, 2, 3 days in a row. And then you're behind the 8 ball trying to catch up. When you do it in the beginning with an overwhelming show of force, these criminals that are coming out just to destroy, they don't show up because they know there's going to be a consequence. But this is 20 years in the making of Governor Gavin Newsom's policies that have enabled criminals to do this in the first place. This is just natural for us.
To follow up on something you just said about how you would respond, admittedly, Los Angeles, much bigger than Riverside, the main city in your county. But if these riots had erupted in Riverside or in Palm Springs, Palm Desert, or someplace like that, what would you have done to stop them? And if ultimately it got out of control, would you have welcomed help from the Trump administration with open arms?
Absolutely. And the thing is in 2020, it did happen. The same thing that happened in Los Angeles spilled into Riverside, and we handled it completely different than them. We handled it with an overwhelming show of force where we ended what they were doing immediately, and it disappeared. And what happened was the rest of law enforcement said, oh, look what they did. It worked. And so Los Angeles followed suit, and they were able to stop theirs within 2 days after ours. So there's already a playbook. You do not allow them to escalate and then bring more reinforcements into the criminal behavior. It's nothing but criminals that are enabled to do criminal behavior. And if they're allowed, they will continue and they will get bigger in numbers. If you stop it in the beginning, then it goes away. That's how things should be done. Any cop on the street will tell you exactly how they can make it end. But somehow, as you rise up through the leadership ranks, they can't make those decisions at the top because politics get involved. The mayor gets involved. The governor gets involved.
Yeah, well, arrests last night ramped up because now there's a curfew in place. Why it took 5 days to implement that curfew is a question.
Yeah, that's always saying.
And also, Sheriff, there are a lot of people
so
who
long
are being
to implement the
impacted
curfew.
by
I was
these
like,
riots.
they
We
should
saw
have
it
done
in
that like
2020, and now
4
we're
days
seeing
ago.
it again. There is one jewelry store owner who's a migrant himself who said that his business was completely destroyed. Other stores are getting looted in this area. So talk to us a little bit about that and the human impact of what's going on.
It's huge. Downtown Los Angeles is an enormous magnet for business all day long. And I mean, you know what our freeways are. Our freeways are just really an absolute mess on a good day.
This is friendly.
So when you
Don't
bring
worry about
thousands
it.
of
This is
protesters in to
gaslighting
block
friendly.
freeways, to stop
This is very
freeways,
peaceful.
that impacts everyone's day. Where
This is
businesses
very
are
peaceful. What
closing,
you're watching
businesses
is
have to close,
peaceful.
people can't make it to work. It's a major impact for all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I don't think people maybe in a different part of the country understand when you shut down the 101, you shut down basically the entire Southland, because the 101, to your point, Sheriff, on a good day, the 101
All
is a
these
disaster.
people are in for
This
a
was
rude
a bad
awakening.
days or a series of bad days. And so thank you for making that point. Sheriff Chad Bianco, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest.
For the morning show. That's the last one. I'm going to go rest. My neck is tired. You see me leaning. I'm like not feeling good. My neck hurts. I feel sleepy. That could be my anemic self getting tired. So I need to take a nap. But continue having a good day, a good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're at. It's still wild. I'll be doing round 6 tonight. Round 6. And Saturday is going to be wild. It's going to be one wild. It's going to be, and there's outside influences in this. I know there's people from the outside that are really wanting this to happen. China. There's a lot of outside influences that are here in the United States. Now they're going to uprise and they're going to try to fight from within. And this is going to be our civil war. It's going to be the United States versus the illegal immigrants. And who's gonna win? Let's see. They've been trying to come in with. There's already agents here. There's already like cells and all this craziness. They're already here. They're gonna set up. They're gonna do something big. I'm telling you, the Olympics is in danger. The World Cup is in danger. Like the Boston Marathon could be in danger too. It's like everything's in danger. Like because they want a moment in history. They don't care. As long as they're part of the history, that's all they care for. And there's so many illegals here. So many. So many. Well, I'll cover the round 6 tonight, and we'll see what happens. And like I said earlier, have a good day, and definitely catch everybody on the flip side. It's a weird times, right? We're living in such a weird times. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later.